So with those ground rules and understanding as to the world that we exist in, with these lovely, lovely players, once for the record, twice for the road, 3 times for the show, are there any questions, hypotheses, corners we need to round off? Excellent. Our lovely, lovely silence stating that we are all reading out of the same book if we're not on the same page and not on the same chapter. But with that out of the way, and all of my extended apologies for my tardiness, I'd like to offer my heartfelt thanks for the time that we have shared and how this helps the ability of play and what it means to me and us as a whole. Your talents and efforts are appreciated on a level that there's no way to accurately prove its value. The best I can do and the closest I can come is my everlasting thanks. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. And without too much further delay and no more doing, I'd like to say that this is officially the Brew. Welcome to Cream City. Tonight's episode, late though we are, is Nur in Einheit. When we last left our coterie members, they were spread throughout the city. They were spread throughout the Cream City, tending to their various difficulties that had developed from stopping, interceding, intervening, and being present at a coup attempt. There were several political machinations in the offing in removing or at least exposing the weakness inherent in Prince Decker, who was mourning the death of his child. There were several social coups in the attempt of the would-be Baron of Capitol Hill. Literally just walked in and declared that he would be, well, the end-all be-all, that this was now anarch territory, that he was the head anarch of at least this neighborhood, of at least this facility that most kindred didn't realize were there. Most kindred, of course, excluding Amalia, who as an urban explorer had the opportunity of knowing that there was more beneath the, well, hive of scum and villainy that was the depot that was being utilized out of this open secret near sewer access beneath the Taco Bell. There was a larger facility hidden through several passages and dead ends further down and further into what people believe was merely the sewer, which was the Capitol Hill facility, which was designed to, well, keep the top 1% of the 1% safe if there was a nuclear holocaust. They'd arise from their secret facility and be able to regain and rebuild the world in their image, was the plan, was the thought. The Baron found out about it, and, well, he was found out. And the attempt was made to make an example of him and any others who would declare themselves as an anarch. Show that the real power in Milwaukee, despite Decker's famous and acclaimed past as protector of the city, it didn't work. And then when the attempt was made to blackball and use the coterie to make an example further, it didn't work. Now the coterie has found out what exactly they are sitting on. The coterie has found out exactly how deeply the graft, crime, and various other petty intrigues that are happening in the area are. There are gangs, police, and various other individuals looking to gentrify, urbanize, and renew the area right underneath the coterie's noses, to take territory and power from them in the offing. So each of you all having the opportunity to discover several things, speak with several people over the last couple of days, or simply just get your minds right and free of all that possessed you in those moments, those dark, tense moments. Where are you all meeting tonight?
if we just need like a place to meet up, that would have some small amount of privacy. I guess Millie, seeing as how she needs to be caught up on everything that's happened since she last saw them, would invite them either to the brewery, where she has a back room, or like her house, but probably the brewery back room.
I have no objection.
Me either.
So, Kai, while you're not the deciding vote, you are the deciding vote. Would you head to the Black Torch Brewery on Barclay? Kai, you're still out there?
Yes, I'm here. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Great. Yeah, one minute.
I guess I'll take that as a yes.
Testing.
There you are.
Yeah.
Alrighty, sorry. My fucking phone connected to the wrong internet. Yeah, I'm down with the brewery. Because if we go to our own physical havens, they have a tendency to fucking explode.
That's right. You are nearly a century in all of your number of days. You have nearly lived long enough, so it's most assuredly that you may have dealt with several other kindred throughout the nation, namely a particular toreador writer in the vaunted fastest growing city in the Midwest. At least it was back in the 50s and early 60s. Gary, did you know Mason the Guinness? Is that the reason why you're tossing out the idea that it might explode? You hear what they...
No, actually, I was referring to a different scene.
Oh, I see. You've known or met quite a few kindred who've had their havens no longer left standing? You share this information with your coterie. As you all settle into the back room of brewery. Now, the Black Torch, unlike most other breweries, doesn't have just a tap house. It has a full menued restaurant. It's not just a tasting room where you buy a flight of the newest or most exclusive seasonal brews. You have your full dining menu paired with the right beer. Oh, it's not just beer that they brew. There's mead offerings. They even have small batch wines being vented on the premises. While that's relatively novel and new as far as breweries go, the Black Torch also sits on a near palatial estate. Yes, there off of South Barkley and just north of East Oregon is a plot of land that has been set aside for a homestead and the brewery. The brewery looking at for all the world like the barn and stable facilities for a mansion, which initially it was. And while it's stone and carved and crenulated and all of that middle Victorian glory, there is a certain artistry inherent. It's a workaday artistry, but the grounds and the estate blend together into a homogeneous whole. It's hard to see one without the other, and it's hard to imagine one without the other. And it sits here so easily accessible just off of East Pittsburgh, right as it gets to the Dead Man's Corner, which is where Pittsburgh Avenue, the expressway merges hard stop right into First Avenue, merges hard stop into West Pittsburgh Avenue, which is just a slightly major thoroughfare. So you have 4 lanes merging down into 2 going east, 2 going west on both sides of the median, down to 1 going west and 1 going east. There's a hard off-ramp from First Avenue onto Pittsburgh, but it is known as a death corner. It's hard for anyone to not have to use care getting here. If you are of a certain inability to drive, your best bet is to stay on Barkley and avoid Pittsburgh as best as you can, which makes it all but a secure location. There's no way for anyone to sneak up on this location from any real direction, because you have to use such care that any braking or easing to the side of the road or otherwise causing an impediment would cause a pileup. So with all of that information there sitting for you guys, how do you get there? How did you get here? Let's start anti-alphabetical, shall we? Yes, that means Millie, the lovely Millie. How do you prepare the back room for the meeting of your coterie? This is the first sit down you guys have actually had together. You've all met on the fly and dealt with things while they were still up in the air, all the balls still being tossed, all the plates still spinning. But now this is a sit down for you to decide on how you all are going to administrate your new domain that you're responsible for, as well as how you're going to administrate who you are. How are you going to tell the world who you are and prove that you are worthy enough to not be trampled, steamrolled, stamped on, or otherwise obliterated due to the machinations and the political aims of others?
Okay, so Millie would probably be back down at 1 hunger, having fed over the past 2 days. The first thing she'd do is find Cullen and let him know that she was having guests this evening, and take the ribbing that she knows is going to come because she almost never has guests, and make sure that they won't be disturbed. Like, she lets him know, unless it's an emergency, and you know what I mean by emergency. Nothing short of that. We would like to not be interrupted.
Courtesy don't like to be interrupted. All I've got to say is that your seed has done it again. Well, he's backtracked on the purchase of the seeds and the grains that we need. This fool has unfortunately blocked the flow of hops to Club Charlie's, your favorite little friend across the river.
I know I'm gonna have to hear about that. Shit. Okay, I have time to deal with that before they arrive, hopefully. But
nope.
Yes.
I don't have time. It's food for thought. You can take them with you and do it.
Shit. That's a later. Okay, I'll handle that later. Right now we need to talk and sort some things out, but thank you for reminding me that I have to handle that. Why does he still have purchasing power, by the way? Didn't I?
No, you haven't.
Oh, shit.
You've got to remove him through renegotiating your family's trust.
And the lawyer is almost never awake at this time of night. I need somebody that's willing to work night hours. Anyway, again, to-do list. Lovely. Anyway, shit. Okay, I know. I need this to sort out, and this is important. I get it. But please, this is also important what I'm about to do, so...
I've not put hands on him if that's what you're worried about. I've managed to keep from throttling the lad, but just barely.
I know. I thank you for that. even though sometimes maybe it would shake him into making sense. How is he? His father was such a good businessman, and I don't understand how he didn't get any of that. I really don't. But anyway, listening to him there. Where's the other? Has she stopped playing cops and robbers and fucking daring do?
Can't say that she has. As per your instructions, I've managed to cause such a stink and sully her name through friends of friends of friends of friends that she's under an administrative investigation. Well, she's mostly desk-bound for now, as per your instructions.
I can deal with that. I can handle that. As long as she stays out of danger, I will be okay. I don't know why she wanted to become a cop in the first place. Heaven forbid. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's the important thing, that she is out of danger. Now, thank you. And then she turns to head towards the back room to start, breading things. Just kind of like setting up chairs, and she knows they won't need any drinks or anything, but she'll still probably offer, just in case they're like one of those people that need to do something with their hands while they're talking. So, but that'll be when they get there. She'll ensconce herself in the back room.
Alright, sliding along. Kai, the black torch is not out of your normal area, to say the least, but it is. Let's just call it what it is. You're by far the closest to your coterie's domain, the Capitol Hill area. And so for you, it is a nice trek. You can take, typically you'd take 145 all the way down, and yes, most things will necessitate being on Fond du Lac for most anyway, so that's not the issue. The issue is Fond du Lac as an expressway, a local major thoroughfare, really ends right there at 6th Avenue, and from there you're traipsing across a lot of other individuals' domains. Do you drive? Would you take a cab? Would you take a lift? Would you attempt to run that whole distance using celerity?
If I remember correctly, he doesn't even have a car.
Well, there is that. Would you steal one? Would you borrow one? Would you get someone to drive you? Or would you reach out to another one of your coterie members to take you to the meeting? How would you get to Brewery?
Technically, I couldn't reach out to another coterie member unless I had Ravens, and which I do not, since I do not own a phone. And therefore, since I do not have a phone, I cannot do the weird Uber stuff and whatnot, and it'd be damn hard to find a fucking taxi. So it sounds like I'm going to be jogging there.
Okay. Fair enough. Though finding a taxi in a city in Milwaukee isn't quite as hard as all of that. It is considerably more difficult to find just a taxi. Yes, there are individuals who are grandfathered in. They have their shields. They even have their meters. But most of those individuals also do Lyft and Uber. You'll see the Uber badge and you'll see the Lyft neon light sitting in their dash, even though the side of the vehicle that they're on is festooned with the name of their cab or livery service. They operate as subcontractors for both of the companies, and there's even a third and fourth ride share service in Milwaukee. So as you, from where you are, once you cross 20th, they become more prevalent, because from 20th north and west and just west and further south of there, where Fond du Lac crosses 20th, is a little less than the downtown area, which you'll be moving through. There's no King Park or West Town or Haymarket. All of the areas outside of there, Cold Spring Park, Concordia, Merrill Park even, are at best suburban in regards to style.
Wait, I need to make a quick correction, actually. I believe he does own a car since I have 2 dots and drive and technically middle class.
Doesn't mean you have a car. Just means you have the ability. You have practiced. Now, how did you practice driving? Did you steal cars for a living? Or did you just find them interesting enough to have 1 or 2 throughout the years? At 100 years old, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that you've had the opportunity to have a car here or there. But is it something from the halcyon days of the late 30s? Something that is far heavier than it needs to be, with wheels far thinner? Something that, was revolutionary because it didn't have a crank.
I would say the 80s probably jumped a few cars back in his day.
I see. Oh. Instead of needing a cab or livery or an Uber or a Lyft.
So he'd sorry?
Which 80s sedan do you have?
Sedan? Oh.
Well, remember, he is 100 years old. The idea of a fast muscle car with the modern stylings and aerodynamics wouldn't really appeal to him nearly as much as something that would remind him of the luxury and power of days of old. Being nearly 100 years, his style may have slightly updated, but that aerodynamic, barely there, thin, plasticized metal that most cars used during the mid to late 80s and onward would not appeal to him. He would literally know that he's sitting on top of a combustive engine. That's fire. That's explosion. That is death to kindred. He'd want something a little bit more substantial, something that it may catch fire, but he'd be able to roll out nice and safely away from it, versus it catches fire, his life disappears. All of the immortality that he's lived, gone in a blink of an eye, because someone forgot a fuel pressure filter sensor or some other contraption of these modern newfangled kids that are creating all of these destructive rockets. Why does anyone ever need to go over 30 miles an hour? That's perfectly fine. You're outdoing a horse at that point. Why would you? And needless to say. So.
Okay. I've come up with the most badass car. You ready?
Fire away.
A station wagon.
Excellent. Sturdy, able to carry all of.
Did I cut out or did he?
He cut out.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
There we go. A nice station wagon, something sturdy, well built. It's a country squire, has the full wood paneling. You, like all individuals of a certain age, keep outward trappings of your vehicle well maintained, waxed and lovingly washed, kept up to date and kept up to snuff. You know for a fact you can get at least 8 bodies in the back as long as you cover them with a tarp. You can transport as many individuals or cartage as you need, and it's sturdy. You could drive through most homes and come out the other side relatively unscathed in your country squire. On your way to the brewery, do you attend any other side issue, any other small thing that you would wrap up on the drive there?
Is our hunger reset for the last 2 days, or is it not?
Yeah, so it's safe to say that if without anything majorly of import, hunting and finding sustenance would be considerably easier. That's the reason why. That's the reason why I didn't ask you guys to make a rouse roll just yet.
Okay, so I'm going to slake hunger and then roll frenzy. Let's do just a normal amount, and if DC. Okay, I resisted the frenzy, and now already we're good. I did not kill someone.
You hope. Is there anything that you remember to do when you're hunting?
Alley cat, so victim wouldn't really have. He would make sure to have been wearing a hoodie, making his face very whatchamacallit, not shown. And then since the victim survived, probably would just leave him there and leave.
Okay. Perfectly fine. And Charlie. Meeting, the big to-do, your coterie amassing like the Knights of the Round Table. Your coterie deciding to put either rubber on the road and take care of the brass tacks. How would you arrive at the brewery?
I would rumble and sputter that old truck there. Making sure I got my pistol on me before Amalia gets us in more trouble.
I resemble that remark.
Rolling along from roughly where your haven is, where you like to park and where you like to associate, knowing the ins and outs of what's afoot, what's brewing in the offing, because there's a lot of things that are actually happening just outside of you all's purview, just outside of your direct intentions. The area that you all have been granted has become a war zone. Let's just call it what it is. And while the war hasn't kicked up where there's, usually live round fire in the area, if it was just the Capitol Hill area, you'd be perfectly okay with it. Well, perfectly being a stretch of the imagination. But it's not just the Capitol Hill area. If you go from your haven just west across Stadium, i.e., Lisbon and all of that there, across from 175, that entire area has a feeling of death. And there's nothing overt. There's no people hanging from power lines or anything like that. But if you go there, you can feel the very real sense that you are behind enemy lines. You get the very real sense that the world is crashing down on certain people's heads. You know that west of 175, west of the stadium, is unofficially Hakata territory, which means that those in the tower and those that are outside of the tower are dealing with things changing at such a rapid rate that the only outcome is chaos and violence. Feels as if the walls are closing in a little bit. And that's one of the most dangerous places for those of your blood. If you get squeezed out by too much urbanized ideals, it begins to make your skin itch. It begins to make your heart call out for, freedom. So sputtering along down 27, circling around most of where the patrol areas are, around where most of the packed in close people are, crossing the river, taking, Leighton down and around. You're avoiding most of the traffic through 94 and 59 and dancing across piers and up Bruce. And needless to say, you take the circuitous route, one, because you don't have to get the engine riled up to the point where it begins to cough and sputter and threaten to quit, but also because you avoid most of the natural patrols and camera spots and the choke points that control the ebb and flow of the city. Because, Decker's praxis is still in place. The laws that are supposed to limit congregation and building of such things. Anything that you seek to, any small item you seek to accomplish along the way, any small thing that you're doing, or is it mostly making sure that the truck does not stop? Is it mostly ensuring that you evade and escape most of those attentions and intentions?
Yeah, that would pretty much sum it up, I think. Charlie is a simple kindred. So just trying to get there.
Well, getting there is better than not, after all. And speaking of getting there, or not, Molly, the question is, in the offing, in the 2 nights, did she maintain her vigil over the Capitol Hill area, or did she head back to her haven there on the South Shore?
I would like to think that she would go home for, a day or two.
Excellent. So
She-
they're just off of the
things
South
to
Shore.
do.
Your area is decidedly moneyed. There's no other way to put it. It's a little more suburban in its outlook in terms of wide, spacious lawns, front and back, children playing until the street lights come on. That sort of feel. The plots and tracts of land are a little wider than they are closer into the center and hub of the city. But there's a cost to be paid by living in such a suburban area. Yes, you can literally see Lake Michigan roiling and toiling if you look between the houses just on the north side of the street from where you are, from where your haven is. Yes, it's nice and quiet, and there's an air of privacy that you don't get. But that privacy comes at the cost that everyone knows what everyone else is doing, save Amalia's. Everyone, they use their big carafes of coffee and stand on one person's lawn admiring another's and whispering amongst themselves as to, I think that she's a day trader. I haven't seen her in a couple of days. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she go over and knock out. Nah, we're not going to go over and knock. But look at her grass. It's above the 3 inches that it should be. Well, I'm sure the housing association will probably go over and say something soon. Yeah, but look, that's just growing all sorts of... Yeah, you can see her garbage cans. She never brings them out. Yeah, I noticed that. And bringing down my property value there. If things start to pile up. Yeah, but I haven't smelled anything. Me neither, but, it's hard to get close enough. The dogs, when I'm walking, never like to go on her property. It's harder to find a reason to go over there. Yeah. So yeah, that's the environment there on the South Shore where she is. Just there on South Superior. There's lots of ways to get back into the more urbanized centers of the city, and there's more than a few ways to get there to the side of the river where the Black Torch is. The question is, does she take the circuitous route, or does she, take Superior down and Wentworth, cut over to the 794 down and around, or does she take over, the 32 up and nearly directly there? Though, as you get closer and closer into the city and crossing 59, the 32 turns into, well, danger. Will Robinson, danger. That corner where Pittsburgh meets Pittsburgh and First Avenue, where 32 stops being an expressway, is a major point of congestion and potential loss of limb and life.
Of course it is. Well, considering where they're going, I figure Mal would, instead of taking her Jeep, take her convertible, because it's a nicer neighborhood, dress a little nicer than her usual, hunting clothes. Appearances matter.
Oh.
And then she would just make her way up there. I wouldn't say she gets lost, but I would say that she gets distracted and misses her turn a couple of times, making her go the weird way around.
Alright, sounds like a plan. Especially there where the 32 crosses under the 794. There's a reason why it was done that way, though no one knows what that reason is, because it was done so very long ago. The two expressways, 794 and 32, where they meet right there, they don't actually cross each other. You'd have to go further south, get off of the 794 to circle up and around to the 32, or go further west off of the 32 down and around to connect with the 794. It's one of the most aggravating aspects of taking one way or the next. And it's very easy to miss one turn and find yourself far and away from where you want to go. Almost as if it was designed purposely so that you would end up in one place or another, but neither of those places where you wanted to be. Needless to say, you all finally arrive and amass in the back room of the Black Torch Brewery. Again, unlike most breweries, they don't have just a tap house. They have a full-fledged, from-scratch kitchen. And the meals are paired with what is easily and readily available fresh with the brews that they have. There's a certain snobbishness that you don't find in the average tap house, in the average tap room. Yes, every brewery has a small tap room, whether it's, a 3-seat bar at the corner of the actual factory floor, at the corner of the brewery floor where all of their cisterns and everything is, or whether it's a 10 table place where you can have parties and gatherings. Black Torch is special in that regards because they actually have a full functioning restaurant built around the idea of what they do. It takes some doing, but as you all arrive, there's a clearly Western European gentleman, scraggly haired. Unlike most of the other staff, he's not wearing crisp black slacks and non-slip shoes and black button-down shirts. Some rolled to the elbow and others, just wearing the short sleeve, clearly tailored version of such. No form-fitting much of anything. And while he's not wearing that, he is wearing darks. The olive drab of his coverall, it makes him stand out. His hair clearly not coiffed at all. It's been a while since he's been to a barber or even attempted to snip it himself. His beard scraggly and patchy, but he has the air of someone who is accustomed to bossing individuals around. As you all draw close, he makes his way over. You guys need to go to the back room. Just go down there past the restroom, back to the left. Don't go to the right. If I find you on the floor, I'll come for you. Is his welcome speech. Almost as if looking at you all, he knows who you are there for. He knows why you're there. So as everybody amasses,
I will walk down the stairs or wherever he points. Thinking the adventure shit.
Same. I'll just get assumed led or directed to where we're meeting.
Malia will thank him for the directions and head in that way.
So as they entered, Millie, what did they see?
As they come in, it's definitely a meeting space. It's definitely like a party room in a way, but it's something a little more classy than that. It also has like a little seated area with overstuffed chairs and a table between the middle of them. And she's sitting in one of the chairs with paperwork in front of her. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. My drawer was falling out of my desk. Sitting with paperwork in front of her, kind of pawing through it and looking a little perturbed because she's trying to sort out the issues with her son and purchasing orders and trying to figure out how she's going to get a lawyer to work with her later in the evening. So she looks up, acknowledges them. Thank you for coming. Hold on 1 minute for me. Take a seat. Find where you're most comfortable. If you would like something to pretend to drink, if that's something that you do, let me know and I can have Colin, who I'm sure you met on the way in, get you something. I know he's a little rude, but he's Scottish, so sorry about that. Just give me a minute, and then I will get caught up with you guys, because I think a lot happened, and then she's like back down in the paperwork, flipping through it.
And Charlie, we'll find a seat somewhere unobtrusive.
I will flop down on anything that looks comfortable.
I'll have a seat, sit up straight.
Him flopping.
After all, don't want to wrinkle the nice clothes.
Him flopping makes her wince, because it's like an heirloom chair that's been passed down in the brewery since it was built. So it's just kind of like hearing it creak, she winces.
Bruja gonna bruja. Okay? Okay.
All right, so what's up, y'all?
Well, I don't know what's been happening the past 2 days on you guys' end. I have had some things happening here, and unfortunately, due to some family issues, I have had those take precedence, and some things have been found out that I am currently working on. But I know that our new jobs as hounds, or whatever you want, sheriff, that whole issue is very important, so we should, I guess, work on that.
Well, Mal led us into some underground death trap. We had to kill some Sabbats.
So there's Sabbat in the city.
At least a couple of them under our review.
There's less now, she says with a smirk.
Yeah, the whole propensity for killing things. I get it. That is also why I needed a day or so to reconcile my feelings about what we did that night that we got our job. And I know many of you perhaps don't feel the same qualms as I did. And I realized that they did wrong. And it was our lives or theirs. But it did still affect me some, so I guess that's on me, and that's something I have to work on, and that is not any of your concern specifically. But it's just something that I had to, again, reconcile with myself, having done. But yes, so there was more death. Okay, I get it. Yeah, Sabbat.
To be fair, they attacked us first in this instance.
Again, I guess, yes, that would make a bit of difference in this. They weren't on the ground begging for their lives, so yes, that makes a difference. Okay, so Sabat, we got that. And she's like, while she's listening, she's shifted her pile of paperwork over and now has a different notepad and a legitimate feather quill pen. It's not one of the ones you gotta dip, though. It's self-feeding. She just refills it. But she's using the quill pen to take notes legitimately. And then Sabat on the paper she's writing. Okay, and besides the Sabat, which again are a major problem, and they snuck in, you say, or were here the whole time?
I would say they've been here pretty much the whole time. There's also, if I'm understanding the layout correctly, a feed to a water source under our domain, as well as possible fairy rings.
Hearing the fairy rings part, her brow like hikes up. With her obvious ties to people that believe very much in those manner of creatures, it kind of makes her tilt her head. Okay. She's writing that down. Okay, and then you said the feed to water source?
Yes. Which could be problematic. Not that it would flood or anything, mind you. I'm not worried about that. But if the stories are true, it does give the wolves a way in.
Seeing as they have less of an aversion to water than we do sometimes, I can...
It's more of the... Oh, how did the stories put it? So the mirror, the reflective surface, is kind of like a portal that they can use to travel.
Does any of this sound like familiar to her, or like something that's just like what stories or something that would have been passed through family and things like that? Would that any of that sound familiar?
Well, they do say that the eyes are the windows to the soul, so if you're able to touch that, sure, of course, yeah, that's believable. That within range of what that is.
The strange thing with that for me is back in the old days they used to use silver as backing to mirrors. Silver behind glass. Silver the lupines are allergic to, so them being able to walk through some sort of enchanted mirror that's probably fairly centuries old, it's a little strange to me. Not that I'm not saying it's not true, because obviously stranger things have happened, but correlation in that is strange to me. I'll have to think on that some more. But okay, so we have possible entrance to lupines, Sabat using the water cable under the city to get in. Anything else?
There are some lovely homes down there, and I found an excellent spot to act as a shooting range if anyone would like to practice.
Okay, homes as in they had been built in that area, or homes that they had been built above ground and somehow sunk underground?
Let's say, in case of emergency. hide underground. They've been down there for a while. Nuclear war and all that.
Oh, okay.
It's really a self-contained city down there. It's quite fascinating.
And local gangs, or possibly a specific gang, are in cahoots with some police factions.
They're what?
Some in my patrols, I've noticed that there are some police part of the police department helping out rising gangs.
That she definitely marks down on her paperwork with some question marks next to it, due to the ties that she has to the police department currently. And figure she'll have to ask her daughter at some point, but doesn't say anything to the rest. She just kind of like, huh, and then kind of scribbles that down. So we have...
It ain't surprising.
No, not intentionally. I mean, police sometimes can be quite corrupt. But, so what you're saying is we have several smaller factions working under the guise of secrecy and attempting to erode power from the prince. Is that succinct enough? Speaking of which, did anybody else notice that we were attempted to be used as a reason to create a coup the night of the riot? Or was that just me?
It's hard.
It's a little above my pay grade.
It's a little hard for Kai to keep his face straight. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your composure plus subterfuge? And a similar roll for Charlie. Because both of your sires gave instructions that night that were designed to minimize the effect of the attack on the burgeoning anarchs at the Capitol Hill facility. Both of your sires pretty much cautioned you to make an example out of a few where no one could see so that they would back away from what they were doing there. Reading the small bit of potential confusion that you all would be hiding, because it's impossible to put those two ideas together and not, or side by side, and not see a correlation between the two. That or not is entirely up to you, but as you are able to account for that within yourself, keeping it to yourself is, takes a practiced hand. Now, as you mentioned that correlation, Millie, and you bring it to a point of conversation, if you would like to scrutinize, you and Amalia scrutinize the face of your comports, that would be the moment to do so. You have your difficulties. You either need a 4 or a 3 to see that there's something there beneath both of their surfaces, something that as of yet hasn't been unsaid.
What will my dice pool be?
Wits plus subterfuge. Any WP being spent? Now it's time to dish out.
Nah.
No, I'm okay with it. I got a success. I'm okay with leaving it as is.
Kai is a person that puts the past in passion. He's fairly brusque and direct, but there is a clear investment on his part for most things. The moment you mention that, Millie, there's a buttoning up, a closing down, a turning inward.
Kai would sit up basically instead of lounging in the chair anymore, and just and put his hand on his chin and just kind of looking at you, but not saying anything. Looking at Millie.
Well, I see you noticed something, but I don't quite know what you noticed. What I was pointing out is that one creepy guy that kept laughing. I don't quite remember his name off cuff, but he kept laughing and he kept hinting that he was trying to help us out, but at the same time, when the prince did certain things, he seemed kind of strange. Or like he was caught off guard and was hoping for a different outcome. That's what I'm talking about. It seems like we were used to attempt to create a coup of some sort. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And I was sent on a mission just before that little fiasco happened to possibly minimize damage. I guess. Make an example out of a few here and there. Which I'm not. I mean, I'm okay with doing it. But it makes sense.
So what I'm getting from all of this is that it wasn't a very good surprise riot because far too many people knew about the riot and were prepared for it. How were we not prepared for it? Because we ended up showing up for something else entirely, and then the next thing we know, we're caught up in the middle of it.
And I'm fucking pissed Theo didn't tell me anything about it.
Sometimes the truth sits there, just out of reach. You see it, you see portion of it. You can't quite fathom the totality of it. Sometimes it's so immense as to disappear into your horizon line, to rise above the cloud line and seem to bend with the shape of the planet that we are upon. Other times it's so small yet bright enough that it disappears and sits there calling to you as it hides amongst the other grains of sand. In this situation where you all are now, it is an impossibility knowing which version or facet of the truth, facet of the facts, is truer than not. Whether it's so large as to disappear from sight because you can't encompass the totality of it, or is it just small enough that it disappears and blends with all of the other details around it? What is it that you all are looking at when you realize that there are open secrets and that the one time and still considered primogen of the Ventru in Milwaukee offered help while seeming to stage a coup against the Gangrel Prince? what fact are you all able to glean from the one time believed, or at least could be, Bruja Primogen that everyone believes is slightly Nosferatu, sent a friend, a associate, a childer to make an example out of someone? Then there's the hidden knowledge that no one is aware of except for Charlie, that one of the preeminent members of the Protectors of the City, her sire, seems to be working towards and away from the goals of the tower as a whole. There's no reason why they would have turned a blind eye to the Anarchs, and there wouldn't have been an actual factual reason why they may have let that Anarch escape into the night. You've seen him bring down prey 3, 4, 5 times his size, and outnumbering him nearly 5 and 6 to 1. That one squirrely, small, relatively unimportant Anarch is allowed to slip through the dragnet that was there designed to bring them low. But you all know the saying, there's no rest for the wicked, there's no rest for the weary, and you all are both wicked and weary and quite unassuming because you're trying to tend to business. So as Millie's right-hand man, her trodden soldier, her good time pal, her manservant, hears knocking at the door, pushing it open with his feet. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a call you need to take. It's on the bar phone. Would you like me to have it forwarded back here?
She looks at him, and she knows that he is, if not one thing, good about keeping his word to her, at least to the best of his ability. So when she told him not to bother them unless it was a absolute need to be bothered, by the fact that he would bring her a phone call, it's important. Forward it back, I guess. How's business in the front?
We've got nearly a full house, including that Rossi mistress from across the border.
Huh. Okay, I haven't seen them in a while, but I do have some other questions for you afterwards, and I will give you my notes when I'm done with the phone call. But yes, forward it back, and then I will see what it is that's going on. Okay?
Of course. He disappears back, pulling the door nearly closed. You notice that it doesn't latch, because if it latch, you can't easily just push it open if you need to. You'd have to turn the knob and make some noise, and you could be stopped midway. You talk to through a door, which, as you can tell, is probably not in his idea of a proper, respectful conversation. It's better to say it directly. So he disappears. A few moments go by, and the plugged-in phone in the underside drawer of the table where Millie is sitting rings and rings, and it rings in a way that you all have not heard in years. It's an actual landline ringing.
She picks it up. You've reached Millicent. What can I do for you this evening?
Miss LaRue Black. I have one of the scions of your family, and I believe that we should talk.
And who is this, please? I don't quite recognize the voice, if you would.
Oh, of course not. We have not spoken in person. But your facility is well within the catalog of businesses we invest in. We port as best as we can, because when you make money, we make money.
and money is good to be made all around, yes. Now, you said we need to speak, and that you have...
Yes.
Well?
Your son, he has been utilizing our financial advisors and taking various loans to ensure that you maintain a sufficient profit margin, and unfortunately for you, I have been made aware that you have come into a piece of property that we might make a deal over. For the record, let it be known that I am not impolite. My name is Aloysius Clearwater Blackstone Dunsirn. We are business consortiums and lenders of such. Your son, your child, or the fruit of your womb, I forgot the saying, owes us a considerable amount. And we will trade you, or make a fair market exchange for the value owed to us for what is now believed to be your domain. You may bring the funds and we'll draw up a contract. We'll meet you at one of our shelf companies. I'm sure you're aware of the Tower Chicken Farm on 6th Avenue.
I am, yes.
Excellent. We shall see you there in, let's say, an hour and a half. It shouldn't take you that long to gather all the necessary things you might wish and need for, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. We'll see you there with bells on. Have a good evening.
If they are watching her, she hangs up. Very carefully hangs up and rubs her temple. I am going to murder that boy. I'm going to murder him. Yes. This one, as much as I don't like killing, this one might be truly warranted. Because only he, and she just like almost forgets that they're there, and just like face gets a little like bright, and she's like gripping paper underhand and crunching it up. Colin, I need you in hand now, please.
Does anyone have heightened senses? No one? Okay. Well, the exact tenor of the conversation being had is impossible to ignore. There is a decided note of frustration wafting off of Millicent. And as you all hear footsteps on the outside, it's clearly that now he's not attempting to do his best to be silent. He's just approaching. You all would like to discuss before he gets there?
She looks at the rest. Apparently good news travels quickly. And so does bad news. Our domain or plot of land or whatever it was we were recently gifted has come under the examination and greed of another. And they wish to use something that they have that is belonging to me to procure and trade for our domain.
That seems unlikely to happen.
They want some form of repayment and also the plot of land, which I previously mentioned, as trade for this. Now, I could pay them probably completely off just in cash. It would take a large chunk out of my earnings, but I think they're pushing the issue because they really want whatever it is on the land or in the land that they are mentioning. I need you to tell me what you wish for me to do, because I need you to understand that the thing that they hold is fairly important to me.
Well, if they'd have done their research, they would know it's not solely your land.
And if they did their research, they'd know you'd have me backing you up. Which means, what do they have?
She looks at each and every one of their faces and tries to weigh what she sees there about what against what she is going to tell them if she finds that she can trust. I don't know how much you know about me, or only probably what I tell people about me. But it suffices to say that when I was living, I was of age enough to have a family of my own. That family was raised with me being as I am. They are the public face of this building, this brewery. I still run it, obviously, and I will run it long after they are probably gone, unless I bring them over. But it suffices to say that I have 2 children, and they are my actual blood children. And one of them has been taken captive in trade for this deal. He dug himself made his own bed, and technically I should let him lie in it, but I cannot do so as he is my child.
I quite understand the family business angle.
Unfortunately, he is not quite cut out for being in charge of the family business, as has been further proved this evening, and I am in the process of removing his power.
So it's not so simple that we can just go and kill them all. Then, if it's the kind.
They knew much. I think they are facing, but not entirely. They're very much like we are. They represent themselves as human to the public at large, but it sounds very much like they are not at all human. They know too much to be human.
They happen to know who they are.
She repeats the name that she was given to see if they know who that is. Some long-winded English-sounding dirtbaggish name.
So their names didn't matter to her so much as anything at all. So she really didn't bother to memorize or even notate their name down. Did she at least notate the place that was given?
She does tell them that the chicken farm, we are to meet them at one of their shell holdings, which is a chicken farm on 6th, apparently, in an hour and a half. And I am supposed to bring money and contracts to sign over to them in exchange for my son's life and squashing anything that he might owe them, as it were. They take it as a done deal, as they did not give me any chance to counter, and they assume that I will just scurry and do as they say. What they don't realize is that is not who I am at all.
Does the name ring any bells?
Of the chicken farm? Yeah. There's rings several bells. The question is, do you, as purposefully outside of your familial ties as you have been, was there anything that Malia has done to maintain some semblance of awareness as to where the family actually is in regards to many of their holdings and many of the areas into which they are involved?
I would presume that she does, simply because she still is in contact with her dad and her brother, and they were entrenched, though not kindred.
It's a processing plant. You know that because of the very real plight and confusion that comes from how you all obtain your sustenance, how you all need to hunt, that a lot of the family's businesses revolve in and around butchery. It's easier to hide the dead bodies when you mix them in with a couple of chops of steak, when you mix them in with a couple of pounds of chicken breast, when you mix them in with a couple of pounds of chicken thighs. With a skilled individual, one of the many things that you all utilize are poultry farms. Because just like pigs, chickens will eat anything. And if you have a poultry farm of sufficient size, you can make a body disappear in several hours.
When you mention the farm, Amalia will make a face. Body disposal.
I take it you have heard of these people before, based on your face and knowing that they use this as a front for body disposal.
They are cousins of sorts.
Seems this is a family affair this evening.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse because Kai, who has been quiet this time and has allowed only stating and addressing the opportunity to go down in a blaze of glory, to challenge and end these individuals that have caused you problems. The chicken farm is one of the trading posts for those hard up nights where he can't engage in actual combat. When he hasn't been able to find a worthy victim of his angers to feed from. There's been a few nights over the long stretch of his life where organically sustained blood that he didn't have to kill, fight for, that he didn't have to harm anyone for, has come in handy. Over the long 100 years, there's been a few low points in his existence where it was all he could do to get out of his grave every night. the chicken farm has been a place where blood has been traded. The chicken farm has been a place where you could, for the low price of a few points of pride, get just enough to get by. And the chicken farm for Charlie holds a similar place because there are a lot of freshly turned children of the blood who don't have it in them to earn their daily bread. And your sire, in an effort to keep them from being ground to grist, has had you obtain several drops of the good stuff, the human blood, to get them by. Because while, yes, you can feed on animals, you can sustain yourself on animals, there's been quite a few kindred, quite a few of your blood that have not had the wherewithal to actually hunt. There have been a few of your blood who, for lack of a better word, were just biding their time into their next and last permanent suntan. And the chicken farm is where the blood for children unable to do has been obtained.
So first things in business is we save your son. And then we beat the motherfuckers to death. Or make an example out of some of them.
I'm not sure it'll be that easy.
I know it's never that easy, but come on. This is our domain, isn't it?
I didn't say they could have it.
It's at this point where Kai gets up and starts pacing. Because he can't sit still. Alright, Millie, it's your kid. What do you want? How do you want to handle this?
We obviously can't give them what they want. They...
No shit. How?
I get it. It's passionate. Everything's obviously out to take a dig at us. It's understandable. We're the new kids on the block and they're testing our boundaries. I would like my son to be returned to me in one piece, but if he is not, I suppose it would be useful enough to get my daughter to leave her current position and become sole face of the brewery. And I know that might sound horribly pragmatic, but I can't let him be the cause of my whole entire business crumbling before me. I can't. So, we will do what we can to get him returned to me. Give them only as much as we are willing, but no more than that. And if push comes to shove, walk away from it all. Them, I mean, not the domain. We were given a job and we must do that job. Has Colin come in that case then, or were we still waiting for him to walk in?
He walks in, his coverall as usual, slightly rumpy but clean enough and presentable enough to be a uniform of sorts, which is what it is for him. His boots surprisingly silent, though he's made enough noise on the way in to let you know when he was about there, which means, unfortunately, he may have an idea as to what the call was about. Because he can be remarkably silent more times than not, Yet in this instance, on arriving here, he took his time.
She looks him in the eyes when he comes in. Did you know where he was getting the money from?
Nay, I didn't know where he's getting the money from. But word's on the street that he's a fucking flaming idiot. The Rossi woman is outside. She's surprisingly in a similar business. I didn't think that local restaurants were so, well, involved in our trade. It seems as if she's kept her ear to the ground and has an idea that he was in for a badness. Where some of the information that I gave you came from. Not just checking the books. I wouldn't bother to check the books if not flat.
How much damage has been done?
Well, he got rid of the bad hops that he was getting from overseas, and then, unfortunately, once you buy it, you can't buy it, even if you return it. The idiot didn't have the proper contract in place, where it was sort of on consignment. We only pay for what we use. This is again one of the many things that the Rossi woman from the Venture Italian restaurant was telling me. They have a deal with a few dealers who are importers from Gary, and according to her, they're branching out to Indianapolis. And through there, we might be able to get a better batch of hops and better batch of grains on top of what we grow here for our special batches.
Fine, I will talk to Miss Rossi, as it were, and set up a business meeting amongst ourselves. That sounds fine, but that leads me still to how do we get him back? They have him, Colin.
I would invite her back here.
Fine, Colin. See if she wishes to come back and join us so we can speak of this now. But again, I am pressing very clearly for you to understand that they have taken him and are holding him in some sort of trade.
Well, it's your blood, not mine. I know what I'd do for my family. There's not much I wouldn't do to kill for him. Not much I wouldn't do to live for him either. Well, in the grand scheme of things, blood is blood and it calls for its balance. If you don't protect them, well, the shame's yours, not his. He has no control over being a flaming idiot. You do have control over how much you're willing to drink for him. How much of your honor you're willing to give away for him. But again, my family and your family, two different things.
You know I can't let them kill him. You do know that.
Oh, one should kill him over a debt. At best, maybe break his legs. A dead man can't repay any debts. Unless, of course, he actually owes that much. I don't have full access to the financials, I can't tell you
I
that.
will get you full access to the financials. Please escort Miss Rossi back so we can speak.
Sure, of course. Whatever you wish. And as he leaves, there's moments where everything before is only in preparation for it. This is one of those such moments. With the way that Malia has explained that she is kept in contact with the family, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about. She knows the Rossi woman, the Venture Italian restaurant. She knows that the reason why Milwaukee is as disorganized criminally as it is, she knows that the Rossis, at least according to the Scuttlebutt and family gossip, have taken it upon themselves to crush every other member of the Pudinesca family. All of their family lines. The Capones, the Stigliones, the Castigliones, the Tories, the The list goes on. Every member of the Pugliese family is effectively a Montague to the Rossi's Capulets. Every member of every family under that umbrella. Some of which, up until recently, held a full slew of domains throughout Milwaukee. They no longer own those domains. They no longer are the captains of criminal enterprise. But that's only if the rumors and gossip are true. You're not sure if they are.
While we wait for Rossi to come back, she looks at Amalia. Is there anything else I should know about these people that have my son? Anything we should expect?
I don't know too much about them beyond family gossip. Pater Rossi may know more. It's likely she knows more. Very, very likely she knows more.
It takes a few minutes, but there's a gentle rap at the door. Gentle.
Millie stands to be on her feet when the person walks in. Please do come in.
Charlie, would you be so curious to describe what Sophia looks like?
Absolutely. Let me pull up her sheet real quick. All right, so from her sheet, she is tall and slender. She's very pale. She has sweeping long brown hair. It's probably pulled up in some sort of messy bun or something. Green eyes. She's very chilly. Very, at this point, kind of wears the monster as a badge. She walks with a slight limp. She doesn't move very quickly, but she does move with confidence. She's probably wearing some sort of professional attire that costs more than any car in the parking lot. And her nails are meticulously manicured. And by tall, I mean she's like 5'9".
This description is for the woman who walks through the door. Except for instead of her being youngish in her early to mid-20s, she's clearly a few months or a few years older than her early 20s. There's a predatory monster sitting there that is obvious. The pale skin is unmistakably kindred. There is no denying what this woman is, even though it is clear that she's roused the beast. She's tapped into the vitae enough that most humans will pass off the coolness and chilliness as she's clearly one of those rich bitches. Oh my god.
As soon as she walks into the room, Mal, who has most certainly have had this drilled into her head, stands up and bows. And then waits to be told to sit.
Kai, Charlie.
Charlie has no such manners. She doesn't know who this person is.
The reason why I'm asking Kai and Charlie because while she enters the room, her guard enters the room as well. And it's clear that the two men dressed in well-tailored suits that enter with this woman are in fact her guards. And it is clear that these two men that enter with her have every intentions of, they're sizing you all up for coffin. And they're not sizing you up in the typical way that most security and tough guys do. They're not looking at the male in the room as a threat. No, they're looking at everyone, perceiving things that most humans don't even consider. The lack of breathing, the dead-on look, the locked-on feralness, all of those things. And the standing and bounds means you know who you're dealing with. All of those things ratchet up the danger that's present in this room. And you are most sure of anything that if the shit hits the fan, they intend on dropping everything that is not their charge. It's almost as if kill it with fire tattooed on their foreheads.
That will raise Charlie's hackles a bit, so she will sit up a bit straighter and wait for everything to explode.
Millie?
Colin, dear, you are, as always, charming as ever. Thank you for your time. Perhaps, I understand that you decanted and brewed a lovely bock. Might we have 7 of them? Colin looks to Millie, then looks to the Miss Rossi, a venture Italian fair, and then looks back. You've always told me to be a good host, and there was a request made, yet you have not given him the leave yet. So he's torn. And you know it's only a matter of seconds before some less than polite, "Oh, I have no idea what the fuck you want with a bark," comes stumbling out of his mouth.
Smirks, catching all the posturing and the danger inherent in the room and what each and everybody is doing, and kind of head tilts. That sounds good, Colin. Please bring around as Miss Rossi has requested, but don't tarry, please. And she gives him her sweetest smile.
Sure thing. Consider that done. And he steps back out of the room. The moment that he does, her guard closes the door, takes a position to the left of it. The other guard moves to the right of it, and then she takes a step forward into the room. Might I? As she motions towards the nearest chair to Millie on the opposite side of her table.
Please do make yourself comfortable. I have been made aware that you might have some helpful information and some kindred sort of business acumen, as it were.
She inclines her head and slides the chair out. And as she does, she waves with her left hand, palms down, fingers extended, just a slight up and down motion, signaling to Amalia that everything is fine. You may, at leisure, you may be as you were. It's a subtle thing. It's a slightly more surreptitious evidencing of where she is and where you all are. You're in the midst of mixed company. And she slides a chair out and sits.
And then Amalia will sit.
Definitely noticed on Millie's part and filed away, but she retakes her seat and crosses her leg, looking to the others. Your restaurant is a fixture in Milwaukee, as it were, and has been sustaining through much. I should show you know that our city sometimes has its fair share of rough times. But it's nice.
Yes, it was formerly held by the C&T business group. It has come into my portfolio only most recently. There was far more that I was hoping for, but a business relation put an end to such a thing. The C&T Group still holds several properties throughout Milwaukee, and I intend on taking them. I intend on holding all of the businesses under their umbrella before the decade is out, before the next 4 years have elapsed. In fact, if I have my druthers, I will own the totality of their entire portfolio before the end of the year. But the C&T Group are not the only threats to us as a whole. I pay some close attention to your dealings with the C&T Group through various intermediaries. When I made your chief financial officer aware as to the criminal ties of the C&T Group, he unfortunately found other lending partners to sustain your profit margins.
And I'm seeing that was not. While I do appreciate he'd rather not work openly with those that are seen as criminals, openly, because we all know your public face is fairly important in these situations. He seemed to have gone with a much worse choice in exchange of that, and it has gotten him into a bit of trouble, and by extension, myself.
Yes, the towers of the Dunsirn family are, well, particularly voracious. I could perhaps offer I am not sure to what measure of success it might be. I might offer my negotiation services to you in this regard. They are cousins of sorts.
Yes, I'm seeing this seems to be one big family situation on both sides of the fence. Here, I would be honored to have somebody of your business acumen and voracious knowledge on my side of things, because obviously I do not know these people well enough to know what they are capable of. I'm just but a humble businesswoman with one such business.
What is it that you fear happening?
That something that had taken from me will not be returned as it was taken.
Well, nothing taken is ever returned in the same state, no matter how well protected and kept it. You can't assure that your chief financial officer has not been ghouled. You cannot assure that your chief financial officer has not been possessed. You cannot assure that your chief financial officer has not been supplanted with a mental order that he will only follow when certain conditions are met. No matter what happens with your chief financial officer, you are waiting for the other shoe to drop. What I can negotiate for you is the safe return of your property, even as that property most assuredly would have changed by now. How long have they had your chief financial officer? Are you aware? Been 1 night, 2, 3?
The last time she saw her son was when?
Before the signation of the Capitol Hill area. She listened to Colin complain about him and was off into things. Unfortunately for her, he's been busy, and clearly you see why he was busy. Moving funds, trying to recoup losses, and waiting until he has something to show before speaking.
No more than 3, but at the very least 2, it seems. Unfortunately. You are correct. I don't know what they will do to him that might make him more useful to them in the future, even if this deal is made as they wish it to be, because it sounds like they would like to still have a back door, an option to gain more from me in the future.
What value has he accrued? What is his balance? Might I ask the rough approximation of such? Because you can tell how much they are willing to invest or have been willing to invest as to his important apparent value to them.
Miss Rossi, forgive my forwardness, but do you have children?
Yes.
If it were...
What does that matter in the grand scheme of things? Is your chief financial officer your child?
Yes, unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that. Children can disappoint, and it's the nature of them. The question is, how important to you is your offspring's continued operational ability? That is what sets the price in terms of negotiation. There has to be an out point, a point of no return where your child, your chief financial officer, is beyond their inherent value to you. And with that, she looks towards Amalia and then back. It's not quite a talk to your girl, but it is in fact very close.
I unfortunately believe that at this point in time he is no more valuable to me save his position in my life as my child, not as a chief financial officer. But I was currently working on stripping him of most of his access to the business side of things, and this has proven doubly so why that should have been done sooner. So, there is some value, but very little, as it were. If I lost him entirely, I could probably recoup my losses and roll it.
Yes, you could always have other children.
I have another, and I will make them the face of the business. He is currently, with his sister, the face of the business. If something were to happen to him, I still have the other. I don't wish it to be so, but that is his value to me. You asked.
So you have another heir?
Yes, she has no will or wants to be in this business.
So he is relatively of no value to you.
You can see that it almost hurts her to admit to it, because she would think that, the life of her child should be worth something. But being somebody that's almost immortal in their own right, it's very clear where his value stands, both as a source of food for herself and what he shows the public, or his public face of the company. So she closes her eyes for a moment and then squares herself and nods. It's not the value they assign to him. It is less than maybe an eighth of the value they assign to him. that he is actually worth to me.
Very well. That changes things somewhat.
They have set a meeting in an hour and a half from when we spoke, which was just moments ago, and expect that I will do as they ask, no questions asked, and arrive to collect my child.
I see. So will you? Would you even need my assistance if your goal is to potentially, well, most likely, not acquiesce?
I'm willing to go in positively to allow us to speak and come to some sort of mutual agreement, something fair for both sides, but I will not give them entirely what they ask without any questions asked, or at least some sort of negotiation. So yes, I would prefer that we have your help. But then that begs the question, as we are both businesswomen, what does this do for you?
Proof of value, first and foremost. Proof of my ability to accomplish goals. After all, one would not invest in an unproven, untested anything. This would be the proof and the testing, but sadly, I don't believe that there's enough value here that it would matter one way or the other. After all, he's just a male child, and you don't clearly need him to want him. So why enter into negotiations when the end-all, be-all, especially when dealing with individuals who are predatory? Why set yourself into a position where there is an opportunity for loss? Well, that is the grand end of it. He has no value to you. You are unwilling to truly negotiate because there's no real threat, there's no real loss, there's no real value. They are willing to pursue their perceived position of strength because the belief is that your chief financial officer does have value. I don't see this as something that I could positively affect. There's a disingenuousness on your part that I'm glad that you have been honest with me about. With the Dunsirns, the entirety of their family, they are voracious business. The only way to mitigate and change their mind is to, well, have something of value for them. And if this child of yours has no value, then it is a losing proposition in all parts. Well, at least the Dunsirns will get their usual meal out of such a thing, but otherwise there is no value here to negotiate. The child is lost cause. You can obtain more, create more. You have a backup heir already. The best case scenario is to ignore their call their bluff, to ensure that they do something that you perhaps litigate later, something you could pursue later. But as of right now, binarily, I don't see this as a opportunity for anything save violence. Because I doubt that you would watch as he was eaten. I doubt if you would be able to calmly sit and watch as pieces of him chewed and digested. Oh, I'm sorry. I perhaps assumed that you knew or know of the Dunsirn's predilections towards cannibalism.
That brings her to a pause, and she shakes her head no. No, it is not. That change.
But at least you have another heir, and you can put that matter out of mind. After all, your longevity, your legacy is still intact. Simply transfer all of the powers of the chief financial officer to your chosen heir and put the matter out of mind. Leave the issues as to what happens going forward on the Dunsirn. Hell, if you were actually going to press the issue, you could say that they stole a meal, theft of service, after all, and pursue your claim in that regard to make the wrong completely theirs.
Forgive me for prescribing things to your words that aren't particularly meant, or maybe they are meant, I don't know, as I don't know you well enough. It feels as if I am being judged for my words and my honesty.
Why would I judge you? As one mother to another, I understand the value of children. I also understand how they can be depressingly willful. I also understand that in the grand scheme of things, so long as there's another heir, even as the child disappoints, there is significantly more largesse and leeway you may offer it if there is another heir. There's another opportunity. The fruit of your being to provide fruit. Weather the storm. I make no intentions of judging one parent or custodial figure or another when it comes to how they operate and deal with their children. And with that, she leans forward, almost conspiratorially. I had the opportunity to offer my child nearly an entire city, so long as they were willing to rule by my side. Their willfulness denied us both the option of being far stronger. It was disappointing and wholly unjust. But because of their willfulness, it required me to more vociferously press my claim here. And as you see, because of the inability of tapping on planned issues, I now have a full domain that is inviolable to the tower as a whole. Even Prince Decker honors the right and range of my realm, unlike the now in jeopardy Castiglione territory to the far north and the Dunsirn territory to the far south. So their disappointment has provided an opportunity. This may be that for you.
Honestly, thank you for that. It's nice to know that I'm not the monster entirely that I believe I am, but you also bring up a good point.
Your beliefs of yourself.
He does have value. He has value in protection of his younger sibling. He has value in, again, that it would be somewhat scandalous for public face in my business to just suddenly disappear with no explanation. For that alone, I think I would need him back, so that we might ease him from ruling more subtly, as not to stir the pot and scare the sheep, as it were. So I do need him back, yes. And you have helped me see that I do.
Your other heir, your daughter, I believe, right?
Nodding, yes.
She's not thus far connected with the company. Yeah.
No. She has no...
Oh, that is a shame. Might I ask what industry she is currently involved in? She does carry your black name, or LaRue black name.
Millie kind of watches the other's face. Some strange flight of fancy. She fancies herself a do-gooder for the city. And I try my best to protect her from herself in that regard. But yes, she has done her damnedest to distance herself from family money and make a name for herself as something other of a lone wolf. We are not good enough for her. We have not done enough to care for the city around us, as it were. She has some grand idea of sense of good and heroicism. Smart, that one. Far smarter than her brother, but willful.
That is a good thing to notice. Is she a detective? Has she made some sort of growth? Is she a federal agent? Or is she a private detective? Is she a beat cop? Because there are ways that we can potentially protect her from all sorts of fallout from this. Maybe even get her a promotion so that her duties won't allow her to be in the way of any sort of harm. After all, watch commanders are never without security. And federal agents, once they reach a certain level of pay, no longer are in the field. And private investigators, if you get to work for a lawyer that only deals in out-of-court settlements, they won't typically be in the way of any harm from clients or investigation.
This is the first time since they have arrived that they genuinely see Millie smile hearing that. Yes, I believe that would be wonderful if we could make that happen. You have been a breath of fresh air this evening. Thank you so much.
Which path would we like to pursue with her? After all, I have a certain amount of reach. I could help mediate such a growth path for her.
Watch Commander sounds something suitably ego boosting on her part, but keeping her out of danger. Speaking of which, on another note, I have heard through somewhat of a grapevine that local police officers are working with local gang members to disrupt the flow of our fair city. What would you know about that?
In this moment, nothing, but allow me a night or two to investigate, and I will assure you that I will find something pertinent in regards to such rumors and allegations.
I believe it.
Watch Commander, you say. Which
Currently
is she a detective or a
has
patrolman?
been so for a few years now, and about time for her to be given either a promotion or some sort of leave, one way or the other.
Excellent. I am sure that my associates and network can assist with this. And is she using LaRue Black or just Black?
She would have had her father's name. LaRue is my family name.
I see. So she has a black name. It's fairly decently common, but I should be able to find her first name.
I wonder what Colin is with that beer, but we might not have time for it, actually. We are burning moonlight, as it were. But again, are you re-interested in negotiating with our lovely potential host this evening, or should we do it ourselves?
Consider the matter with the Dunsirns handled. Give me 30 minutes at the outside. It should take roughly about 15. However, certain people can be a little more. So instead of your meeting being an hour and a half, let's say that it's 2 hours from when they call. And your second air so that we can isolate them and insulate them from the fallout of any misnegotiated moment. Their first name? Instead of getting all of the blacks promoted, we would like to target just one specific black.
Now, while we're doing all this and talking, I'm watching Amalia off and on because they know this person. And as much as she'd love to just put all her eggs in one basket and hope that this person is going to help them out, I want to use some sort of skill to see how much I could possibly trust this person before I go giving her my daughter's information.
Right. You would definitely notice that Amalia, contrary to her usual, let's say, flightiness, is basically on her super best behavior, trying her damnedest to pay attention.
And if you had noticed, Charlie is shooting you a kind of appalled, disapproving look.
She kind of raises a brow like, I suppose we'll talk about this later. But she doesn't say that. She just kind of just looks at her like, huh? But yeah, what do you need me to roll to kind of just investigate how I might feel about this particular person and giving them my child's information?
How you feel? You have a clearly connected individual who had put a bug into your son's ears to how bad he was being. Because of that bug being put on the straight and narrow, as it were, they went running to another source of income to offset their already made mistakes. So she's already volunteered her services. She's volunteering her services now to negotiate on your behalf. As far as trustworthiness, that comes down to roleplay in this particular case. How do you feel? They've been fairly direct, fairly straightforward. They've even expressed their own disappointment in their own child or children. They never specified.
Oh, too good to be true thing. Like, it feels like this person is too perfect. Like, she knows how I'm feeling. She has kids. They're a disappointment to her, too. We're both business owners. We're both powerful women. This feels like a setup.
Well, then go with that. Unfortunately, trustworthiness, yeah, that comes down to how you feel in that moment. If you would like to roll to see has she lied about any of the information that she's given you to use that as a gauge, then it would be your wits plus subterfuge or wits plus etiquette. There is a certain bare bones business methodology at play. So, which of those two would you like to use is how you would perceive or be able to grasp whether she's thus far lied to you on any point?
My stronger pool is etiquette based, so I'm gonna use that in etiquette. What's an etiquette?
Your DC is 3. Fire away.
Okay, I guess it's stuck at a 2, despite the willpower. Railroad.
So, the facts in front of you are really simple. Thus far, she has been 100% truthful. Thus far, nothing that she has said has been a lie nor shading of details. She has spoken nothing but the absolute truth.
After a moment's pause, seeing as how Millie feels like she hasn't been lied to, because I see what you're saying there, and I know what I rolled, but seeing as how she feels that she hasn't been lied to, then yes, she will tear off a small notepad of paper, or small piece of paper, and write down her daughter's initials with black as the end, and then what precinct she works in, and then fold it and hand it over.
Excellent. Consider this matter in regards to your secondary heir resolved. I will ensure you that if there is any cloud or harmful attention being paid to her, it will be removed. And over the next few months, I will ensure through careful negotiations and actions that she rises through the ranks so that she would become eligible for being. I need roughly 2 weeks to begin the middle point. The groundwork is already there for any officer who has not fallen prey to any provable action. It is fairly easy to rise to the ranks in Milwaukee law enforcement. As far as negotiating for your primary current chief financial officer, I will, as stated, need roughly 30 minutes to ensure the proof of life, as it were, and proof of lack of harm or lasting harm. Then negotiate the price that would be amenable for you and the Dunsirn cousins that are holding it. The where is the question. They have several properties throughout the city. Their primary operating facility, I believe, is not far from 6th Avenue. Is this where they are holding it?
Yes, that was the meeting place that they gave us in about an hour and a half, but you said now 2 hours, so correct. They said the chicken processing plant farm place off 6th.
No. Very, very smart of them. The threat of immediate violence, the proof of previous administered violence, the fact that it is a place that could be scrubbed if need be. Human blood, surprisingly, with enough chicken blood poured into it, is almost indiscernible. Same thing with the pig farm they own in the South Shore. Same thing with, they have several businesses. I will head there, and I'm there to speak with them early enough to not have them wait too long. And as due to your heirs' value to, is there a line you would not likely to cross in regards to negotiation of that value. In effect, is he worth a minor boon or trivial boon, or something significantly more for
What
you?
they're asking for in return for him is land, actually. And
Yes, but the value of that land, the protecting and ownership of that land equal to a trivial boon, a minor boon, a moderate boon, or a life.
No one near be a life boon at all. Minor would be a willing start.
Okay.
Yes.
And is he equal to that minor boon? Okay. And would you like me to progress much further beyond that into a moderate boon, or maintain that hard line as possible?
Hard line at moderate boon. No further.
Excellent. Consider it done. I will see you at the processing center in 30 minutes from when I get there. If you will excuse me, I believe Colin should be nearly here. I requested the bot because I know that it is out of season and would be in your furthest reachable bag.
Again, Millie laughs. That's a good trick. I will have to remember that. For when I want peace and quiet.
With that being the case, and she stands up and sends her hand towards you.
And Millie cautiously but confidently shakes her hand in return.
As you clasp her hands and shake, she closes it with her left. We have an agreement of continuing to work together from this point. Based on my proven success with turning into your primary heir and your secondary heir. I look forward to our continued business and all the successes that will.
When Rossi stands up, Amalia stands up.
It is a pleasure to meet you all. I thank you for your patience in the moment that you all granted me, and I will leave it to your evening so that we may meet shortly thereafter, if you'll excuse me. She moves towards the door, inclining her head to everyone as she walks past them, and her guard at the door opens and proceeds out just ahead of her, falling in over her shoulder as they make their way out and away. The last guard out closes the door behind him. Your man should be along shortly. No timing of such things. We measured out for this. Thank you. He closes the door behind himself, fully pulling it closed with the full latch. Catch it.
Millie kind of sags in her seat because that took a lot out of her. Thinking of all these different things, like what is her son's life worth to her, and the hard truth behind all that, and having to think as a businesswoman rather than a mother. Again, was very hard on her, so she kind of sags in the chair and then looks at Carly. I assume by your stare or your face currently that you do not approve of my going into business with that woman.
Y'all just sold your soul to the devil. Didn't even get no golden fiddle.
As far as I know, I am the only one that has sold anything. recently. You all are free and clear of this particular deal, should you not wish to be part of it, other than the fact that we are tied together and our duties to the
I think she has more to do with the problem she's offering to solve than she let on.
Amalia, you seem strangely affected by her. What do you think?
Well, she is the head of the family, so to speak. She wouldn't have gotten to where she's at if she wasn't willing to slit a few throats.
My point is what the colleague brought up. She says that we made a deal with the devil and didn't get our golden fiddle in return. Do you think the deal that I made is beneficial, or I have just effectively tied an anchor to my ankle and tossed myself off a pier?
I wouldn't quite say tied an anchor around your ankle. But she will take her pound of flesh, so to speak.
More like around your neck. That woman is a monster. I think she has something to do with the situation you're in that she's offering to solve.
I'm not entirely blind, and I thought of that same thing. Unfortunately, I could not detect whether or not I was being lied to. Clearly, I felt that she was telling me the truth, so I could only take her at face value. We shall see how it all shakes out. And again, if anybody's neck is in the noose, it is my own. Luckily, I like being choked.
Well, that ain't true, because we're a coterie now. Officially recognized, we got a job to do, so if you're the one being choked, we're all being choked.
Choked and controlled by proxy. There's no better position to be in, right? The truth of the matter is that there's a lot of things afoot, and it seems as if one of the many feet stomping in your yard may carry a larger stake than expected. The truth of the matter is the coterie is officially endangered. By being put on the map, you have other people paying attention to you. You have other people counting on your failures and your successes. And without a plan forward, you will be running post to post, picking up the pieces that have already been broken. Question here, as you all know now, you have an additional half an hour for Madam Rossi to make negotiations with Mr. and Mrs. Dunsirn, or whoever it was that was holding Millicent's child. You all have the opportunity to plot, to plan, to maybe do anything, everything, whatever you feel is necessary to move forward, to escape whatever this is being planned for you all, whether it's a partnership that will help you all grow to such acclaim that everyone will know your name, which carries its own inherent threats, or is it a plot to put you into a leash and collar you so that you are someone else's dog? Either way, you have an additional half an hour. And it's a fraught half an hour, to say the least. Because there's so many opportunities and options available to you, picking the right one seems possible. Because what's right yesterday doesn't mean that it's right tomorrow, 2 weeks, 3 years, or 100 from now. That is the pressure of being a noticeable coterie. That's the pressure when you step into the light of others' attention. That is the pressure that comes from being a coterie of note. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode and look forward to the chaos and drama that you will bring to bear during our next one. Good night, everybody.